From peace president to starting a war on a good feeling. That's where Donald Trump is from his first term to his second. Is this deal with Iran a mark of failure for Donald Trump? For more on this, I'm now being joined by Jennifer Ewing, spokesperson for the Republicans overseas UK. Jennifer, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for making time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and what do you think Trump gains from this? Over to you.
Well, as somebody that does not believe we should have gotten into this conflict to begin with, we have to, deal the cards we're dealing with right now, which is to say that the best thing to happen after this is if he can get an off-ramp for something we never should have gotten involved in the first place. So there are a lot of people, including in the Republican Party, you just named a few of them, Lindsey Graham, and indeed, I think the Secretary of State and the Secretary of War, who would like to see this continue. There are other people, let's call it the non-interventionalists, like the Vice President J.D. Vance, who wants to get an off-ramp as quickly as possible because they realize how much being involved in this war has damaged the president and his approval ratings. And, you just had those up on your screen. There's no way around this. And obviously, there are very serious downstream effects that in the economy, at the gas pump, just everything we pay for, inflation revolves around whether it's gas, diesel, energy in the United States of America. And that's been one of the worst consequences of this war. So I will say that the deal is, and we need to see the details, obviously, but is a positive thing in at least we are starting to end this conflict.
Jennifer, there's an irony there in seeing this as a positive point, that the war is ending, because this is a war, and as you correctly mentioned, that it should not have started in the first place. This is what the White House had said, that it was started because the president had a good feeling that they were under threat. Let me just quickly add to the points that you've already mentioned. There are $12 billion in frozen Iranian assets that could be released, $300 billion in reparations for reconstruction in Iran for the damage that has been caused by the U.S. and during the course of this war. Iran has taken an immense amount of damage. There's no denying that. Iran wants to impose not a toll but a fee, whichever way you'd like to differentiate the two, on the Strait of Hormuz and the passage through. And then, of course, there is the growing crack between, and the cracks and the fractures between Donald Trump and Netanyahu as a result of this war, while Donald Trump's own foreign policy is also largely taken a bad hit, with no other country really wanting to get involved in this war. Overall, when you look at all that has taken place, and let me not forget to mention the 42 aircraft that went down, the 13 military personnel that lost their lives, 400 casualties, bases at 20 locations damaged across West Asia. Is this a failure?
Is the war a failure? Absolutely. I'm not going to argue with that. With you on that. I've been one of the Trump coalition that was against these actions. However, we are where we are. We can't go back to February and unstart the war. So what are our choices? They're not great. You either continue, which is not what Trump was elected to do. He was elected to not start any more Middle East wars. He did. So, what's the best option here? It's an off-ramp, and ideally it is more serious conversations with Iran. One of the mistakes that I understand that Iran made is not to speak directly to President Trump. You'll know one of the good things about Trump is he will speak to anybody. He'll speak to, whether it's from the media, friendly media, hostile media, and he'll also, he's the first one to pick up the phone to President Putin. He famously went to North Korea. So I think those are all very good things about the president. I would love to see him have a more direct relationship with the people in Iran who are in charge. And again, not an ideal situation, but we can't go back in time and change what's already happened. So let's try to get out of this as cleanly and as strongly as possible and move on to a place where we can have more peace in the Middle East. As for the relationship with Israel, you're right. That is coming under a lot more scrutiny. That's one thing that this war has highlighted is the influence, shall we say, that Israel has had on the United States for going into this war.
Yes. Jennifer, you speak for the Republicans. I wanted to understand, and this is answer as personally as you can from your own gut feeling and also from your own interactions with others who support the Republicans. Are Republicans largely antagonized by the image that Donald Trump has created of the party?
Well, that's a pretty broad question. If you mean around this war, there's two very differing groups within the Republican Party. There's part of the Republican Party that thinks this is a good thing. Indeed, you'll hear people say we've been at war with Iran for 47 years. And then there's another side, which I've just sort of stated the case. So I believe what people in the Republican Party would like to see is Trump getting back to the issues that he was elected on, which you'll know they're called America First issues. Close the border. He gets an A+ for that, quite frankly, although there still is probably a lot more to do with regards to a lot of the illegal immigration that took place under the Biden administration. We'd also like to bring more manufacturing back onshore, deal with, get our middle class and our working class in jobs where you're not having to hold down 2 to 3 jobs just to survive. So what I think the way Trump can save his legacy is to concentrate on the issues that Americans voted for him to do, which were not more Middle East wars.
Jennifer, thanks so much for joining us here on Point Counterpoint. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. There will be more to discuss. We're waiting for what really happens on the 19th of June. There will be more to discuss after that. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Thanks.